जो जीतता हो उसे दो वोट।
I'm stand for BJP. केजरीवाल। मैं तो किसी को नहीं दूंगी।
आप किसको वोट देंगे?
अपना डिसीजन होता है ना, ये किसको वोट देंगे।
सारी सुविधा मिलना चाहिए।
गरीब की सुनता कौन है? अभी आ रहे हैं, हाथ जोड़ के खड़े हुए हैं, गली गली घूम रहे हैं, हर दरवाजे पे जा रहे हैं, माता बहन। बाद में जब यही लोग इनके दरवाजे पे जाते हैं तो ये यूं खड़े हो जाते हैं।
Hello and welcome to deKoder and countdown to the Delhi elections. Our analysis and a look ahead at who's winning this election is going to be done over the next 60 minutes. Now, this is truly a small state but a high-profile state. In fact, just yesterday, I met 3 young budding journalists, and I tell you, the young journalists are much better than senior citizens. And I asked them who's winning, and they're sort of close to the ground. The first one said, it's a sweep for the BJP. The second one said, no, AAP is winning. And the third one said, honestly, this is a fact, it's kaate ki takkar. And then they asked me who I thought is winning. I just ran from there because the only person who really knows who's winning is Dorab. So Dorab, with your deep analysis and surveys, etc., who's winning? Simple question.
I've learned over the years not to give an opinion unless it's based on a poll. I haven't done a poll. I have no opinion. I have no gut. That is the way it works.
Why do you take life so seriously? Right. Now we've got Ashutosh, Manisha, Dr. Manisha, Priyam, and Saurabh, one of the finest journalists there is in India today. And he works with Red Mike, with Sanket, and they do a great job, I must say. Thank you for coming, all 3 of you. I didn't actually have to introduce you. So you can tell us, you're the man. Who's winning? Simple, yeah?
See, my gut feeling is, and what I have seen over the years, I think that Aam Aadmi Party has a definite edge. But this is going to be a very tough election for the Aam Aadmi Party for the simple reason. And I must say that the BJP, if BJP is losing, the BJP has greatly messed up. There was no reason for BJP to lose this election, and Aam Aadmi Party was in no position to win this election 4 months back. But when Arvind Kejriwal came out of jail, he realized that the wind is blowing against him. So he did 2 things. First, he resigned from the Chief Minister's post, and secondly, he left his so-called Sheesh Mahal, that is Chief Minister Bangalore. So the moral aura which he had lost and which was his great capital, that's why he got 67 seats and 62 seats in 2015 and 2020. He's trying to regain that moral aura. I don't know how much he has regained, but this was the best opportunity for the BJP to win. And if they are losing, it's only because of their own follies.
Sounds a bit like the Congress also. Doctor, tell us, you always tell the truth, unlike Dorab.
No, I'm a qualitative methods researcher. I don't do numbers. It's been a situation where I saw the Delhi voter on a wait and watch. They were waiting to see whether those charges that were there on Arvind Kejriwal, whether they stick or not, whether he's guilty or not. So I do see a very mature voter in Delhi. Let's also remember we are talking of Delhi where almost 73 to 75% is the underclass. It's the invisible Delhi that makes or mars the destiny of the state government. That's so important. Now, it's something that Sheila Dikshit realized by the time she was in her second innings for the runner, and she, in a sense, rejigged what was a National Social Assistance Pensions program. And I would say that that was the beginning of the first, what we call now populism, the cash dole straight to the poor
Or did she learn it from Jayalalitha?
Well, she was her own performing person.
Yeah, yeah.
She didn't have a charisma of the films.
Social welfare.
She had to do it on the street. She was there on the ground.
Yeah, she was remarkable.
She was hemmed in by people like Sajjan Kumar who were toughies. The Home Ministry then wasn't in her favor. It was that camp of the Congress that did not get along with her. But she was in the good books of Mrs. Gandhi, the Congress party, but she was also a people's queen. She was there in the unauthorized bastis, gullies, the National Social Assistance Program rejigged to a reasonable and decent 1,000 rupees social pension. And I think the Aam Aadmi Party, when it took over, took that from her and expanded it to a variety of other social protection programs. Almost 55% of the state budget literally goes on social protection programs. So whoever is the incumbent has an advantage. Arvind Kejriwal was on the question mark of the people. I do think that what Ashutosh has said, getting out of the Sheesh Mahal and resigning as chief minister, but also some very clever media tricks, means that his party has re-emerged and will have the incumbent advantage as I see it now.
Now, Saurabh, you've been doing some outstanding reporting, I must say, on this election. On the ground, tough reporting. What's the mood in favor of either side right now?
I think, Doc, there's one important and basic point. In 2024 Lok Sabha election, the question was whether to keep Modi or not. Modi nahi to kaun? Yeah, Modi has done Agniveer, Modi is not thinking about youngsters, Modi is that bad, but Modi nahi to kaun? And in Delhi also I see the same thing. Arvind Kejriwal, yes, he has not, Yamuna is there, is a problem, Yamuna is still dirty and he is not, the cleaning is not done there, his councillors are not working, yes, there are charges of liquor ghotala and all, but Arvind nahi to kaun? So this is something which I see a problem
Tina
with
factor, what you call the Tina factor.
And BJP and Aam Aadmi Party is very smart. They have done a good survey. They know that there is no face from the BJP. They know that people vote for Modi in Lok Sabha elections, and they have a good face in Vidhan Sabha election, that is Arvind Kejriwal. So Aam Aadmi Party put out the posters. Aam Aadmi Party versus Gali Galoj Party, and from their own sources, they propped up that Ramesh Bidodi is the CM face of BJP, and we all know the reputation of Ramesh Bidodi. So they do the survey, and whatever they do, they have that backing of the data.
What is your forecast for what will happen in the elections?
मुझे ये लगता है कि हम जीतेंगे, क्योंकि लोग हमें पसंद कर रहे हैं, लोग उनको पसंद नहीं कर रहे हैं, उन्होंने गुंडागर्दी मचा रखी है. मेरी अपनी विधानसभा ले लीजिए, आतिशी की विधानसभा ले लीजिए, मनीषी की विधानसभा ले, जो गुंडागर्दी इन्होंने मचा रखी है, इतनी गंदी गुंडागर्दी, और पुलिस उसको सपोर्ट कर रही है. पीपल आर नॉट लाइकिंग इट. खुलेआम पैसे बट रहे हैं, ऐसे लग रहा है इलेक्शन कमीशन डजंट एग्जिस्ट. पैसे बट रहे हैं, जैकेट्स बट रही हैं, सोने की चेन बट रही हैं, कुछ बट रहा है, रोज सामान बट रहा है. मतलब वो उनका कैंडिडेट आता है, उसके पहले शॉल बटती हैं, ये बटता है, वो बटता है. ये चल क्या रहा है? पीपल आर नॉट लाइकिंग इट. इस दिल्ली अलग है, और दिल्ली के लोग सभ्य हैं, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, वो इस किस्म की राजनीति पसंद नहीं करते.
ये डिपेंड करता है कि सर्कमस्टांसेस क्या हैं. आज के सर्कमस्टांसेस में हम अगर पिछली बार 39% लेकर के भी 8 सीटें ले रहे हैं, और उससे पहले वाले इलेक्शन में 33% लेकर के हमने 32 सीटें ली 2013 में, तो हाँ जी, 15 में हाँ 15 में तीन में माशाल्लाह मैं भी उसमें था. तो मुझे खुशी होती है जब आप ये वाला सवाल करते हैं कि मुझे अपने को
ये बताइए कि इस बार बीजेपी का कोई चीफ मिनिस्टर कैंडिडेट नहीं है. Are we talking to next chief minister? Are you going to be chief minister?
नहीं, मैं तो सर ऐसा है, पार्टी डिसाइड करती है. पार्टी की लीडरशिप पर मुझे पूरा फेथ है, और हम चाहते हैं पार्टी जिसको भी, क्योंकि बीजेपी इशू है कि बीजेपी का चीफ मिनिस्टर होना चाहिए. पहली बात, उसका कारण है कि हमें चाहिए. हाँ जी,
उसका नाम V से शुरू होता
नहीं.
What is your prediction this time? How many seats will you get?
मुझे लगता है कि इस बार we are getting around 50 or more.
Last time, the Congress only got single digits, 5% in the assembly elections. What is it that you think is going to turn that around?
You know, since I'm standing in front of what I call the father of psychology in India, I'll make my assessment.
You can blame him.
I know. But you make that assessment. See, what I find is 5-6% was what we got, okay? If you look at the amount of voter who would have voted for a Congress if we had been a serious competition, was much more than that. Almost 8-10% of the vote that is voting for Aam Aadmi is not particularly fond of Aam Aadmi, but doesn't like the BJP. And they realize that Delhi's Congress is not a real option. And unlike many years ago, when people used to vote for their party rather than just somebody winning, they didn't mind what is called wasting their vote, but they wanted to affirm their party support. That is much less in Delhi today. So about 8-10% of our vote, I think, is with Aam Aadmi Party because they didn't find us fighting confidently. And I think about 5-6% or so was with the BJP. So if you take what is really a base vote that could come to us quite comfortably if we put up a comfortable fight, would be about 17-18%. So taking from that, if we can gain another 5-6-8%, then I think we're really in a solid frame here.
So if you have 2013 again, will you support the BJP or Aam Aadmi?
No, I don't think we'll need to support anybody. I think we'll be quite comfortable on our own.
One more important point, and it is totally based upon my ground report.
Right.
The women voters. Again, I'm going to say, and the women voters who are not visible, who are there in the Jhuggi Jhopris, the Yamuna Par voters, and who are not very visible in Delhi. They are going to be the key factor in this election. And 2100 they will get whenever they'll get. 2500 from the BJP they'll get whenever they get. But they are getting the free
That's
bus
a very
yatra.
important point. We
They are
must
getting
go
the
to
free
that.
bus yatra. I'll just explain it with one example. There's only one urban village in Arvind Kejriwal's constituency, that is Pilanji village in New Delhi constituency. Almost 12,000 to 13,000 voters there. Very big, huge chunk of. So there are old Gujar families and they're the new people from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. They are there and they're the voters. So I was doing the Janta poll and what. So I met a lady who works in the houses of the government officials. So I asked her that who is she going to vote for? She said that I got 1100 rupees from Pravesh Verma. So I said, you are going to go vote for BJP. Said, no, I'm not going to vote for BJP. Said, why? Said, I'm getting the free bus yatra. मैंने कहा कैसे? She said that पहले क्या होता था कि I used to walk 2 kilometers to go to the place where I work, and I used to walk back 2 kilometers. By the time I was home, I used to be very tired. I had no time for my children. Now I get bus yatra free. I come back, there are marshals, and people used to eve tease bus.
बहुत फ़ायदा है. ज़्यादातर तो लेडीज़ जो पहले मतलब वुमेंस जो थी पहले घर से बाहर भी निकलती थी और अब तो निकल भी पाती है जो बस फ्री की वजह से.
पहले लोग इतना जॉब नहीं कर पाते थे, खास करके लेडीज़ सब. अब बस होने की वजह से लेडीज़ सब जॉब कर सकती है.
फायदे यार, कभी जेब में पैसा ना हो तो कम से कम बस से चले जाते. लेकिन अच्छा है वैसे बस से तो लेडीज़ों के लिए काफ़ी सुविधा है बस से.
बस में अभी फीस नहीं है, हमको बहुत फ़ायदा हो रहा है अभी. बस में तो जाने के लिए अच्छा है जी, हमारे फैमिली रन करने के लिए अच्छा है.
नहीं, बस में तो सुविधा तो है क्या लेडीज़ों के लिए से इस तरह है कि थोड़ा टिकट विकट नहीं होती, जहाँ मर्जी उतर जाओ चढ़ जाओ. लेडीज़ों को लिए पैदल ज़्यादा नहीं चलना पड़ता.
हमें डेली ही निकलना पड़ता है. उसमें बस में चढ़ी जाती है, फिर आगे जाके चेंज कर लेते हैं. तो ऐसा हमारा तो भाई बेनिफिट है.
पहले तो हमें सोचना पड़ता था कि ग्रीन बस आए तो उसमें चढ़ेंगे, उसमें टिकट कम लगती है, या ऑरेंज आए उसमें चढ़ेंगे टिकट कम लगती है. लेकिन अब तो किसी में भी चढ़ जाते हैं.
Welfare measures or reveries work or not, and there have been so many examples. I'd love your opinion.
Can I just give one answer? The psephological answer. The AAP is about 15% ahead of the BJP. In the last decade, no party at one go has overturned. Not that it can't be done, but the facts suggest that a 15% lead cannot be overcome in one election. Just too tough. Now, you could do it, but you need either a great new partner who's come with you, or you got to have enormous corruption problem at the other end. But 15% is very difficult to overcome.
See, the problem with Aam Aadmi Party, it has got shifting loyalty. Like in parliament election in 2019.
I'll just back up what you're saying with some data. Have a look at this. In fact, Delhi has a dichotomy. The Delhi Assembly versus Lok Sabha elections are polar opposites. The AAP dominates the Assembly election, totally dominates, like with 55% of the vote. That's a huge domination. And the BJP 20%, 15% behind. BJP dominates the Lok Sabha election votes, 55%, while the AAP is 15, 20% behind. They just go back and forth. And in the meanwhile, what has happened to the Congress? If you have a look at the Congress, from dominance of this state, it has gone down to near zero, decimated. And it's not really considered a very major factor in this election. So what is this all about? It's most unusual to have such a large block of floating voters in Delhi. Just look at the floating voter. It's amazing. Every time there's a Lok Sabha, actually the core voter of both the parties, you can see at the bottom, orange and green, BJP and Aam Aadmi Party, core voters about the same. There's this floating vote of about 15%, 20%, that when the Lok Sabha comes, it joins they move to the BJP. Then they float when the assembly comes, they float to the Aam Aadmi Party, taking that 30% up to 50 or 55%. Then again the assembly comes, they float back to the assembly. Then the Lok Sabha comes, they float to the... Then the assembly comes, they go back and forth. But what is amazing, such a huge floating vote of 20-25%. That's very unusual in any state.
BJP has got consistently 32 to 39% vote share, and in last few years they have improved it to 39%. Like in last MCD election, BJP got 39% vote share. In the last assembly election, they again got 39% vote share. So that means they have consolidated 39% vote share. But the problem with the Aam Aadmi Party is in 2015, they got 54% vote share. In next assembly election, MCD election in 2017, the party which has got 67 out of 70 was reduced to 25.8% vote share. And in further down in the parliament election, that number goes to 18%. And then within 6 months, when the parliament election happens, there's a jump of 36% vote share. So from 54% vote share to 25% vote share to 18%, and then again 54% vote share. And again, when the next time MCD election happens, again the Aam Aadmi Party, the drop of almost 12% vote share. Yeah. So what is happening in assembly election? The only thing is, this is Kejriwal. There is no loyalty factor with Aam Aadmi Party except 18% or 20%.
No, but is that correct? Isn't it also true that they have done implementation of social welfare measures? So it's not, if it was just Kejriwal in a vacuum, but they've had mobile clinics, they've had schools. Many people say it could have been better, but they're the ones who did that. And you were talking about social welfare measures earlier. Do those make a difference?
Make a lot of difference. And I can tell you that Sangam Vihar was one of those constituencies that I had been studying since the time Mrs. Dixit was the Chief Minister. And there's a famous or infamous piece of mine called Pipe Dreams, where I've seen probably the world's largest citizenry neither have a pipeline to take in water or to excrete. And I saw water democracy come to that constituency, and I saw the rise of the AAP.
By the way, I saw that with KCR in Andhra Pradesh also.
Yeah. So the two things that I want to say. The moment your electorate is 73% poor and unauthorized, remember, it's floating by definition. They have to strategize to not let the bulldozers come in, to not have the strongmen come and destroy their lives. So they will vote for the BJP in the Lok Sabha, which is a distant national government. Remember, in Sangam Vihar...
By the way, turnout in Lok Sabha is lower everywhere than assembly.
Vihar, one of the girls had once told me, I had asked her, what is your dream of a nation? And she had told me, वहाँ फवारे होते हैं, वहाँ पानी बड़ा साफ होता है, वहाँ बदबू नहीं होती है. And that was her dream of the nation. And I asked her, what does your father do? And she was so happy. She says, paint करते हैं. I asked her, why are you happy? She said, paint का जो canister है ना, मैं स्कूल भी नहीं जाती, दिन भर पेंट के कैनिस्टर में पानी भर के और जिंदगी गुजारती हूँ. Is that the Delhi kilometers from here? So that's the Delhi. They vote the BJP, they save their lives. They vote for a welfare-oriented government, whether it was Mrs. Sheila Dixit or that now taken away by Kejriwal. Remember, they questioned Kejriwal in this Lok Sabha. If those charges were not seen as very credible, then they have come back. But they are rational people, poor they may be, without
So I want to just ask you about what Ashutosh says, because he has a point in the sense that there's Kejriwal, and opposing him, you don't know. But just look at how the Aam Aadmi vote has changed over the years. If we look, the sharpest increase in AAP vote happened in 2013. AAP percentage vote came from not just the Congress. So where did that come from? It went up, our vote increased by 30% in that one election. 15% of that came from the Congress, 11% came from a drop in votes of independents and other smaller parties, only 4% from the BJP. Then if you look at 2015, again another sharp increase. Once again, AAP's positive swim came not just from the Congress but from independents, but mainly from the Congress. 15% from the Congress, 9% from independents and other peripheral parties, and 1% a little bit from BJP and others. In the meanwhile, what happened was a huge decline in the Congress vote. Just look at it, it's a swap, it's like scissors. AAP went up, Congress went down. It's just the perfect vote swap. 60% of AAP's vote swing came from the Congress. 60% of their vote swing. And of course, the other 40% came from a complete decline of independents. Just look at what happened to the independents in Delhi. And every election, MCD election, Assembly election, Lok Sabha election, people are now not voting for independent candidates. And this is a trend actually across the country. People are now very focused that I want to vote for some party that can make a difference. Independents may be great individuals, but they can't make a difference. And that is what Nisha was saying, focused, much more mature than they were. So is it all about Kejriwal this time or not?
Doc, in your intro, you said that you met 3 young journalists. One said, "बहुत काटे की टक्कर है." So
have you ever heard that phrase? Have you heard that phrase before ever?
So Doc, I think that if people of Delhi are going to back Arvind Kejriwal, they are going to back Arvind Kejriwal. There is no doubt about it. And that is why on 27th, Arvind Kejriwal launched his official manifesto. And it's not Aam Aadmi Party's manifesto. It's Kejriwal ki guarantee. Like Modi ki guarantee. Both of them know that it's about them. It's not about BJP. It's not about the Aam Aadmi Party. That is why it's very, very चालाकी से कह लें या फिर सोच समझ के इंटेलिजेंटली देव सेड केजरीवाल की गारंटी मैं 2100 दूंगा, मैं महिलाओं की मुफ्त यात्रा रखूंगा, ये मेरी इतनी गारंटीज हैं. Arvind Kejriwal knows about it.
Mr. Kejriwal, I was reading your Kejriwal ki guarantee ad this morning. One of it promises, which I heard about quite often in workings, बेरोजगारी बहुत है. You said that we will eliminate बेरोजगारी. Can you tell us how you propose?
जैसे हमने कोरोना हुआ था, कोरोना में सारी फैक्ट्रियां बंद हो गई, सारी दुकानें बंद हो गई, मार्केट बंद हो गए, वेरी हाई रेट ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट वाज देयर. सो हमने जॉब पोर्टल एक शुरू किया जिसमें हमने कहा कि किस किस को लोग चाहिए वो बताओ, किस फैक्ट्री को, किस का व्हाट आर द एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज़. और यहाँ पे हमने कहा कि किस किस को जॉब चाहिए ये बताओ. हम बेसिकली बिचौलिए हो गए एंड वी डिड द मैरिंग ऑफ द टू. दोनों को मैरी किया. 12 लाख लोगों को 3 महीने में जॉब्स मिले थे. 12 लाख लोगों को. और अभी पंजाब में जब से हमारी सरकार बनी है 2 साल ही हुए हैं, वी हैव गिवन एम्प्लॉयमेंट टू 50,000 पीपल इन द गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर एंड ऑलमोस्ट 3 लाख पीपल इन द प्राइवेट सेक्टर. सो हमें देने भी आते हैं और नियत भी है.
What Ashutosh said that Lok Sabha elections के data, MCD में data, I think one thing which didn't go in favor of Aam Aadmi Party in last 2020 assembly elections. According to me, they would have got the greater percentage of vote, but Shaheen Bagh was there. And in last 1 week or 10 days of election, polarization did happen. And according to my sources this time, Arvind Kejriwal or Aam Aadmi Party, from the day one, from the starting of their campaign was focused कि कैसे polarization नहीं होने देना है.
But they're being, as a result, being called diluted Hindutva party. That's more tactical. That's what people are calling them.
And that is why they announced
more tactical to make sure that there's no.
Look at the people they had. Kapil Mishra, for example, अगर diluted Hindutva party का tag है, look at the profile of Kapil. वहाँ से निकल के यहाँ तक.
So that is why they announced 18,000 for pujaris.
Yes.
And they went to the mandirs and got the form filled. So the pujari one, I met a pujari saying कि what are you going to do? See देखिए अभी तो हम राम मंदिर के लिए कर रहे थे, लेकिन पहली पार्टी आई है. पहले ये समाजवादी पार्टी यादवों के लिए सोचती है. BSP thinks about Dalits. This is the first party जो at least Brahmins के लिए तो सोच रही है. So अगर वो फेवर में नहीं जा रहे हैं तो at least they have made them neutral.
So you know this floating vote. We asked Parvez Verma of the BJP, are you targeting the floating vote? You had them for Lok Sabha. How are you going to get them back for the assembly? This is what he said.
BJP is a solid core vote in Delhi, but it only wins with the floating voters coming in. Lok Sabha it comes to you, then at Assembly it goes away, then Lok Sabha it comes back, then goes away. How are you going to stop the floating voter from going away from you? Your core will stay with you, but floating voter will go away.
See, there is a lot of incumbency now of Arvind Kejriwal.
Yeah.
And people are saying he has done nothing in last 11 years. So we are going to those votes which were his core voters, like Juggi Jhopri, like apna Dhobi Ghat. So we are getting full support from there.
Dorab, it is remarkable, as you say, very, very unusual to get to even cover a 15% margin. But here the Aam Aadmi Party rose 30% and then 25%. Very unusual, right?
Yes, yes. It's it's like NTR in the old days. You come from nowhere, but you present a promise that is so attractive to people, and the other government perhaps is going out. It's so unpopular. I mean, these two things occurring together: an unpopular government needing a crest, a party on the crest, and it happens very unusual. You're right. But the important is they held on to it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to get 55%. After 5 years, if you hold on to it, approximately.
It's remarkable. Yeah.
You got to have something going for you.
Talking about floating vote, we asked this lady in Nizamuddin who's going to win. Listen to what she had to say.
मुस्लिम वोट में कितना कांग्रेस को जाएगा, कितना आम आदमी पार्टी और कितनी बीजेपी को?
वैसे बीजेपी को जाने चाहिए, सब रुख पलट चुका है। लोग सोचते हैं कि बीजेपी हमारे लिए काम नहीं करेगा, जो मुसलमान सोचते हैं। अगर हम देखें कि अगर हम इनको वोट देंगे तो हमारी बस्ती में केजरीवाल ने कुछ नहीं करा, उसको हमने जिताया, हमारी बस्ती का बुरा हाल हो गया। यहाँ 10 साल परवीन कुमार, लोगों को पता नहीं कि हमारा नेता कौन है। हमारी सड़कों का बुरा हाल, और हमारी निजामुद्दीन में इतना गलत हो गया। जो पहले फराज सूरी थे, उन्होंने हमारी बस्ती के लिए किया है काम, लेकिन इस बार हम चाहते हैं कि हम भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट दें, भाजपा को, उन्हें जिताएं, ताकि वो हमारी बस्ती वालों के लिए और बस्ती के लिए कुछ कर।
पिछली बार आप किसको दिया था?
पिछली बार हमने उनको दिया था, क्या बोलते, झाड़ू वालू। हाँ।
उसके पहले?
उससे पहले हमने फराज सूरी को दिया था।
कौन सा पार्टी?
कांग्रेस पार्टी।
कांग्रेस, आम आदमी, बीजेपी। चलो ठीक है।
आप बीजेपी को देखिए, आप बीजेपी को जताना है, जिता के अपनी बस्ती में हमने काम करवाना है कि जो हमें पता लगे हम उन्हें जिता रहे हैं, तो कम से कम हमारे लिए कुछ फायदा तो सोच रहे हैं बस्ती की।
Talk about floating vote. She voted Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, BJP. But analytically, not emotionally. So this floating vote, there's no real commitment from a large chunk, right?
But women voters in 2020 was the real decider for the Aam Aadmi Party, because as CSDS survey says, there was a gap of 25% vote share. The BJP got 35% women voters vote and the 60% Aam Aadmi Party. This 25% this time is going to be reduced. There is a drop, certain drop. So this time, if the women voter drops by 10% or 15%, despite 2100 promises, then Aam Aadmi Party will be in trouble.
Let me tell you something interesting about the women voters in Delhi, which is not uncommon in the whole country. Delhi electorate has 1.2 million fewer women registered than men. The men voters are 54% of Delhi electorate, women are only 46. In other words, 8.4 million men voters and 7.2 million women voters. They're starting with a disadvantage, women. 1.2 million have not registered. Why? Have they been prevented? Are they being ignored?
So one of the things is that the kind of jobs men do, precarity takes a form where when water wars break out, for example, the men tell me that that's the time of Sar Phutawal. Summer holidays, when we go to nice Shimla or wherever, Kasauli. Now, by definition, a lot of them are Ola, Uber owners. They drive their families back home. So by definition, they also say this is the wedding season. So the women are not here. This is a city without women and
A
children.
lot of migrants are here.
Migrants. So women
and
are
registered
forced
for
out.
many years.
Yeah, that's one. And second is still the voter registration process there is a process of a strong Dada who holds the land and he does what is called colony katna. And if the colony has been katoed by the strong men, you know,
I love that.
yeah, so the women are not, you know, women can't be trusted. Only those women should be registered who are a little mature. The younger ones.
What does that mean? Colony.
Colony katna means, you know,
unauthorized colonies which has been created from.
Colony katna hai.
Plot katna.
Plot katna, yeah.
This is the planner's description.
Typical Delhi, Sangam Vihar Delhi slang.
So also the fact that, like this happens in Bombay also, more men come from UP, Bihar, etc. to work. There are many of them are what we call
skewed, because gender gap according to 2011, it 868 to 1000.
Yeah.
So obviously there are the less women in Delhi, and the more men. So they have
one little advantage for women is that they have a little higher turnout by and large across the country. So there may be less. In fact, in the last few elections, there are 21 million less women registered than men. Now it's gone down to 18 million, but still 18 million women less. That is like a whole state of women who are not registered. There's something seriously wrong there.
Yeah, there is. I mean, in a sense.
And they turn out, they make decisions, they tell their husbands who to vote for, not the other way around.
In fact, they have been winning elections for the BJP in Maharashtra and in Jharkhand and in Madhya Pradesh because of
and
these.
let me tell you, you guys are youngsters. Go right back to Nitish Kumar and his cycles. That was for women,
2008.
Women, schoolgirls. Made a huge difference. Mamta did the same for women. Of course, Jayalalitha did a lot.
Something that I saw in Bihar, for example, you know, the land changed. It's the state that I come from. In the village that I come from, when I went after 16 years for my father's Barsi, I saw women out in the market eating chaat, and I said my land has changed. And electricity means that I was able to drive down from Patna 100 kilometers away with just the driver in the car. And I said, oh mom, this looks like Goa to me. There's electricity everywhere and I can drive down through green fields. So that's the change. What I don't see in Delhi, for example, women may have got the amount, the Saman Rashi, their children are going to very good schools, but women are not there in the public square debating politics. They hide and they will just indicate to you and say, is baar zara jhadu ko dekhiega. They'll never come out and make a political argument as they would in Bihar and even more in Bengal. That's still absence. The public culture hasn't changed.
So I was in Sangam Vihar today, and the place, there's a Sangam Vihar is in South Delhi. So I was speaking with random people there. So there was a lady sitting right there in the balcony. So I went up to the lady and said, Auntie, who are you going to vote for this time? How are you doing? My name is Saurabh hai, and aapka naam kya and all. We'll decide when it'll come. हमने कहा कि नहीं फिर भी स्टिल सी आपको मोदी जी अच्छे लगते हैं कह नहीं वो तुम्हारे अंकल को लगते हैं तो लाइक स्पीकिंग अबाउट हाँ दैट्स नहीं नो आई टेल सो अंकल को मोदी जी अच्छे लगते हैं हमने कहा आप करें नहीं मैं तो अपने हिसाब से आई डिसाइड ऑन माय ओन हमने कहा ओके तो आपने डिसाइड नहीं किया मैंने नहीं किया अंकल तो कट्टर बीजेपी हैं आई सेड ओके आई गॉट अ हिंट सर अंकल वाज यू नो लाइंग रीडिंग न्यूज़पेपर देयर हमने कहा आई सेड अंकल मोदी को ही वोट देते रहेंगे आप कह रहे आपको कौन बोला मैंने कहा आंटी करे तेरी आंटी तो आम आदमी पार्टी की है शी विल वोट फॉर झाड़ू दिस टाइम सो देन आंटी से आप व्हाई वर यू हाइडिंग टेल मी दैट इफ यू आर गोइंग टू वोट फॉर झाड़ू और नॉट कैन सी देखो हम तो अरविंद केजरीवाल को ही देंगे सो यू सी एंड दिस इज इन संगम विहार दैट पीपल कैन गो एंड वॉच दैट रिपोर्ट ऑन द रेड माइक इट्स देयर
बट आई मस्ट से दिस आंटी अंकल when people start calling you uncle then you start feeling bad. I must go with my wonderful friend Vinod Dua. When we were started being called uncle, we felt bad. We were young, they're calling us uncle. Then later on he said, I'm so happy when they call uncle because I was on the bus the other day, they called me grandfather. I said, uncle is much better than grandfather. God bless his soul. Okay, let's another interesting point about actually elections in India and elections in Delhi is that elections in India are being won by larger and larger margins. Each seat is a larger percentage margin victory. The kind of safer constituencies are becoming larger in number. By safer, I mean constituencies with more than 5%. It used to be just under 60%, and now it's over 80% seats are won all India by margins of more than 80%. Delhi, exactly the same. In fact, it was down to around under 55% of seats, half the seats were won by under 5% margin, half above. And now 100% of the seats in the last two elections have been over 5% margins. So they are much safer, but swings are also larger, as we saw, volatile. So seats in Delhi are being won with wider and wider margins. The rising trends of constituencies with margins of victory over or more than 5%.
It's also reflects the fact
Just
that
one
independents are
last point.
vanishing.
Yes, yes.
So, you know,
that's exactly what I mean.
independents are vanishing. Often it's
Yeah.
becoming two parties in all states.
Exactly,
BSP has completely disappeared.
No, many states they're becoming a two-party job instead of
As
three,
a
four,
result of this, what is happening, just looking at the data, fewer and fewer seats are changing hands. In between 2008 and 2013, about 50 seats switched. 2013, about 40. Now, less than 10 seats changed hands. Elections are being won by a more safer margins of victory. And changing is becoming less, which is what the point you made earlier, right? Why is that? Why is it that people are polarizing? One of the things is, Dorab said, less independence, so the two main parties.
Also, the cost of fighting an election. That's
all
driving the
three
independents
elections-
out.
Sorry, all three elections, 2013, 2015 and 2020 assembly election, they were exceptional elections. They were not normal elections because a party which is formed a year back suddenly from nowhere it gets 28 seats and 29.5% vote share. Is absolutely abnormal. And that the same party wins 54% vote share and 67 seats out of nowhere. 67 seats when the Aam Aadmi Party never expected. Again in 2020 gets 62 seats. I think this time the election is going to be a normal election where Aam Aadmi Party will be treated like any other political party and the Kejriwal will be treated like any other politician.
Yeah.
So this loss of moral aura was the real reason. This moral aura was the real reason for Aam Aadmi Party's rise. Because everybody thought these are the people, they are novice, but they are idealists. They want to change the country. They want to change politics. That's what they promised. Otherwise, who had thought all the heavyweights of the Delhi with the Congress and the BJP, they lost so badly in all three elections. So this time, because of the corruption charges, because of the few steps which Aam Aadmi Party has taken, because of the Arvind Kejriwal's misdeeds, now they are treated like a normal politician. So BJP
That's a
being
very
a normal
key
party.
point. In fact, can I just ask you, there are two aspects which we've been asking people, voters, ordinary voters in the colonies, that you always viewed him as a totally honest person. Now these charges have been put against him. Has that made you doubt him? One of the biggest positives for you have always been you're the one honest politician. Very few politicians in this country, don't care which party, are honest. Now with these charges of corruption, going to jail, has that one advantage you had over everybody else, has that been eroded?
नहीं, जनता देख रही है. अगर ये चिपकता, मैंने इस्तीफा इसीलिए दिया था. जब मैं जेल से बाहर आया, मेरे को रिजाइन करने की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. आई वाज द चीफ मिनिस्टर, देयर वाज नो कंपल्शन. लेकिन मैंने मन में सोचा कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने तो छोड़ दिया, जनता के मन में क्या है? क्या जनता सोचती है कि केजरीवाल बेईमान हो गया? तो मैंने इस्तीफा दे दिया और मैं जनता के बीच में गया. मैंने कहा कि ये चुनाव में अगर आप मुझे ईमानदार मानते हो तभी वोट देना, अगर बेईमान मानते हो तो वोट मत देना. अगर आप मुझे वोट दो के जिताओगे तो मैं मानूंगा कि जनता मुझे ईमानदार मानती है, तभी मैं सीएम की कुर्सी पे बैठूंगा. मैं उसके बाद जब पदयात्राओं पे गया, द पीपल कैन बी वेरी क्रूअल टू यू इफ दे वांट टू. तो मैं जब पदयात्रा पे गया, जनता ने गले लगाया, दे हग्ड मी, दे किस्ड मी. और जनता ने, बहुत सारी औरतों ने कहा कि हम बहुत रोए जब आपको जेल में डाला गया. हमने मन्नतें मांगी मंदिरों के अंदर कि आप जल्दी बाहर आओ. तो जनता का प्यार जो है वो यही दिखाता है कि ये जो कर रहे हैं, दिस पीपल कैन लुक थ्रू इट.
बेल पे था, बेल का मतलब तो साफ नहीं है ना. बेल का मतलब कि छुटकारा मिला है जी आपको, लेकिन अभी तो केस चल ही रहा है जी उनके ऊपर, और इतने बड़े लेवल पे चला है, तो वो इतने बड़े मुख्यमंत्री पे इस तरह के एलिगेशन लगाना कहीं ना कहीं जो है ठीक बात नहीं है जी. दूसरी पार्टियों के लिए एडवांटेज होगा, इनके लिए तो बिल्कुल नहीं है साहब. इनके लिए तो इनकी छवि कहीं ना कहीं खराब होती है.
अब पता नहीं असली कहानी क्या है कि ये करप्ट है या नहीं है, बट मीडिया में और सबको ये दिमाग में बैठ गया यार ये करप्ट है, सोने का महल है इसका.
गरीबों के लिए भी सोचते हैं, वो अमीरों के लिए, हर चीज़ के लिए सोचते हैं। इसलिए केजरीवाल आए तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है, पर उनको कोई आने नहीं देगा, किस लिए टांग खींच रहे हैं। और आने वो ही चाहिए, क्योंकि मोदी पता ही है क्या कर रहे हैं, बेचारे जेल में डाल दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया, कितना गलत बात। जो अच्छा करते हैं उनके लिए ये ऐसा करते हैं, और बाकियों के लिए वो है, तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए ना। जो अच्छा करे उनको करने दो ना।
So let me tell you, I was out in the streets as Kejriwal was released from jail. I walked along with his rally, the first one in Maroli, and I met, families just swarmed out to see him. Yet, it was not the charisma.
Yes.
They wanted to see him, that it's our leader, he's come back safe and sound. But when I spoke to women at length, no iterative visits like he has to figure out.
So Ashutosh was saying slightly chipped away at his...
No, they had a question in their heads.
Massively.
They had a question in their heads. And I think it's only now, when the BJP has not been able to punch the charges in the people's arena, in the people's court, everybody is out because it's legally not been tenable, that I think that has weaned away somewhat. On the independents, I want to add that social media has had a very important effect. There is something called issue poisoning. If that issue poisoning is happening with Kejriwal announcing कि बिधूरी is going to be their chief minister candidate, तो इसका मतलब कांग्रेस का तो चांस ही नहीं बचता है। फिर संगम विहार में everybody who stood out as मैं BSP का लीडर और मैं JDU का लीडर और मैं SP का लीडर, were actually leaders arising from factional fights of a large family itself. So in this type of issue poisoning, where everybody is itching to see their mobile phones before they think, there is very little chance in a small electorate
So
like
actually you
Delhi.
raised something I wonder, is Congress completely wiped out? Or is it going to come back in this election? When you've been talking to so many people?
I think, Doc, one thing we have to see, the voters who vote for Congress in Lok Sabha, this time only, I am talking about 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Let's talk about two important Dalits and the Muslims. They're traditional Congress voters, we all know that. They voted for Aam Aadmi Party in 2020. In 2024 Lok Sabha elections, you can see the Congress ka jo vote share hai, it has gone up. Muslims are very much there with the Congress. But, and according to, this is totally ground reporting, I've spoken with 50, 55, 60 Muslims. See, that same thing, what Ashutosh said, that this election, Arvind Kejriwal is not that popular at all, I'm telling you. But again, ये खराब है, इसने ये किया, वो किया, अरविंद केजरीवाल नहीं तो कौन है? मुस्लिम लाइक कि राहुल गांधी को हम लोकसभा में दे देंगे बड़े इलेक्शंस में. In fact, in Rahul Gandhi's first rally, which happened in Seelampur, that right affected area, in that constituency and in that rally, and the people who were there sitting, they were sitting to listen to Rahul Gandhi for last 2 years and the 2 hours and asked him, what are you going to do? So they see, we are going to vote for Aam Aadmi Party. I said, why? Because they are going to defeat BJP. Congress is not in position to defeat BJP, and we will give Rahul Gandhi vote in Lok Sabha elections. Bade elections mein we will vote for Rahul Gandhi, we love Rahul Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi is in the heart. But yahan par problem kya hai, Saurabh ji? Aam Aadmi Party will defeat BJP. That is something which is there.
So they are very tactical in their...
Very tactical. Yeah. Very tactical. And you will not see, definitely Rahul Gandhi's aura is there after Bharat Jodo Yatra and Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra. Dalits and the Muslims, they think that Rahul Gandhi is very good.
We spoke to Sandeep Dixit, and he is hoping to revive the Congress. Of course, all his posters have him with his mother, and he keeps reminding voters about his mother, Sheila Dixit and her 3-term legacy. Let's see what his perspective is about this election. Sandeep Dixit.
The issue, frankly, here is because people have a kind of a memory of Mrs. Dixit, and many people here are talking about that. So our main, real purpose of the campaign is that memory gets converted into a confidence into the Congress. If that happens, I think we have a fairly, very, very good chance. In fact, a very easy way out. And because wherever I have gone, it's surprising the number of people who've either spoken of her as having done something for the area or done something personally to them. And if we can transform that memory or that nostalgia or that good feeling into Congress.
Target in terms of party?
That is actually very different. It's interesting. Like for example,
both.
No. I'll tell you, it's area to area. For example, the area that we are coming from. No, Delhi mein, I can't say. I can tell you in this constituency. Like in the government areas where we went into the morning, East Kidwai Nagar, it's BJP. right? In
That's your
the
target.
in those areas, in the areas here, because there is more of Aam Aadmi Party voter in this area, that is our principal opponent.
Just one small point in connection, Mrs. Dixit.
Right.
There are perhaps 30% of voters in Delhi who have no memory of Mrs. Dixit.
That's okay. That's okay. They may not have a memory of that, but that's our challenge, to get memory back into their minds, to put our point of view across, to sift through the propaganda of the Aam Aadmi Party and strike where it is. You see, we may not have too much power or too much control over the media, but we have a lot of other mechanisms today. For example, the reason I'm going door to door is because that's the only way to connect right across this whole thing of media, newspaper, and other parts and resources. And if we are able to do that, we're able to establish some kind of a connect. And I think that connect is working.
Right, that was Sandeep Dixit. He's got a tough fight ahead, but full of energy and, I must say, a certain degree of charisma. He always has had that. Now, we've been talking about the caste factors, and this is Dorab's favorite. We did a poll with Cicero and Dhananjay, and it was the most accurate exit poll done of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. At the end of the poll, it was just over 250 seats that they predicted. The eventual was 240, but is remarkably different from everybody else and really, really accurate. Now, if we look at that poll and look at from the average vote, the deviations, where was the BJP stronger among which castes and which castes were the Aam Aadmi Party stronger. This is the Delhi excerpt from that poll, and all this is on the website, so you don't need to write it down, you can just look it up and you'll see all the data. Well, it's very clear that among the upper castes, there's a huge advantage for the BJP. A massive gap over the Aam Aadmi Party. Among OBCs, the gap may be not as much, but Aam Aadmi Party is ahead. And then among the backward castes and among Muslims and Sikhs, the Aam Aadmi Party literally takes off. And that is the three-way divide in the Delhi electorate. Of course, that can also fluctuate, but that's the core vote, right? And then people switch back and forth.
Upper caste Hindus are for BJP, lock, stock and barrel. In UP, they almost vote more than 85%. Brahmins 90%, Kshatriyas 88%, Vaishya 82%. So there's no question about it. But in assembly election in Delhi,
right,
like in 2020, there has been a 50-50 divide. BJP has an edge over the upper caste, but the Aam Aadmi Party is not lagging behind. Amongst the other OBCs, the upper caste among the OBCs, BJP has an edge, but Aam Aadmi Party is just there. What has been deciding for the Aam Aadmi Party is the Dalits. More than 60% Dalits are voting for Aam Aadmi Party consistently, whether in 2015 election or in 2020 elections. And Dalits comprise of almost 17% in Delhi. Add that with 13% Muslims. This 30% almost, you can say,
and Sardars, they're very strongly.
And Sardar almost 3% there. And the women voters. So if you combine all four,
that's a big advantage.
That comes to around something around 45% or 50%.
Right.
If there is a crack in this social base, which I don't see the crack happening, because Congress is working very hard. But the problem is that Rahul Gandhi also knows that Rahul and the Congress is the first preference of the Muslims, but not in their voting preference. They prefer Rahul, but they also know that Aam Aadmi Party has not been good to the Muslims. Because when the Shaheen Bagh was there, when the Northeast riot happened, neither before nor after, Aam Aadmi Party did nothing, neither they talked about it. So in a way, they don't want Aam Aadmi Party. But unfortunately, they know only Aam Aadmi Party can defeat BJP.
Dorab, this pattern you've seen all over the country.
Yes.
There's also, I think you've also discussed it, about the theory of relative deprivation. If the person above you is voting for one side, you're relatively deprived. He's your main enemy, not the top guy. The main enemy is your next to you, and so you vote for somebody
so
different.
Obviously they don't want BJP in at any cost. They'll do anything they can to keep the BJP out, and that ensures. And they don't see the Congress as having any strength at all.
Yes.
It's not a matter of strength, but perception of strength. Their perception is the Congress is flat out in Delhi, despite the fact that in the Lok Sabha, there are a fair number of votes, but they know, this is the only state perhaps where they will learn to separate the center from the state. In virtually no other state, this kind of severe divide exists between Lok Sabha voting in one case and Vidhan Sabha in the other, where the winner beats the number 2 guy by 20%. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
There's a lot of controversy or debate over why are the turnout figures being revised so much. That in Maharashtra, they declared the turnout was so much, then late that night and early next morning, the turnout figures went up hugely by about 8%. What is this? And a lot of people have discussed this, and the election commissioner had something to say about it and tried to defend it. Listen to what he had to say.
Let me come to the voter turnout. ये बेसिक क्वेश्चन हमसे पूछे गए. शाम 5 बजे के बाद अचानक से 8-10%, शाम 11 बजे तक कैसे बढ़ सकते? उसी दिन की बात हो रही है, नेक्स्ट डे की बात नहीं हो रही. ऑन द डे ऑफ पोलिंग करोड़ सौ वोट बढ़ा दिए गए. शाम 5 से 6 बजे के बीच बताइए कि लंबी लंबी कतारें कहाँ थी, हमें सीसीटीवी दिखाइए. इस तरह के प्रश्न हमसे पूछे गए. अभी आपको याद होगा कि इट्स ए मिसकंसीव्ड नैरेटिव. आई विल एक्सप्लेन हाउ इट इज ए मिसकंसीव्ड नैरेटिव. एक ग्लोबल एक्सपर्ट हैं आईटी के, जब हमारा चुनाव चल रहा था तो उन्होंने कहा था ईवीएम्स कैन बी हैक्ड. सब आप लोगों ने देखा होगा. अरे भाई, वहाँ ईवीएम होती ही नहीं है. देयर आर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वोटिंग मैकेनिज्म्स, दे आर कॉल्ड, दे आर नॉट ईवीएम्स. देयर आर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मशीन्स विच डू वोटिंग फ्रॉम डिफरेंट टाइम्स. वो रीडर्स होते हैं, वो होते हैं. उसके बाद भी यहाँ हल्ला हो गया, खूब चला सोशल मीडिया में कि वो बोल रहे हैं कि ईवीएम हैक हो सकती है. अभी क्या कहा सेम एक्सपर्ट ने कि हमें तो लगे 1 महीना 1.5 महीना काउंटिंग करने में, इंडिया में तो 1 दिन में काउंटिंग हो जाती है. वी जस्ट फॉलो द नैरेटिव्स विच आर सूटिंग.
But one thing the election commissioner did not tackle was not the gap between provisional figures and revised. It's been rising over time. Just look at that. The rise in the gap in turnout, the final versus initial figures, over time is getting worse and worse. More and more revisions are happening. And why is that? And if you just look at Delhi in the last 2 elections, in 2015, the revised figure was 3.6% higher. In 2020, it was 8.4% higher. Now that is more than double. That kind of revision, you've got to explain a trend also.
There's no excuse for any revision. It's a small place.
Yeah,
you count the place and it's done.
That's why we defend the EVM, saying we can just get it done if it's in the EVM.
What is worrisome is that because when TN session was then, I used to cover the election commission, and everything was. What used to happen that on the day of polling, around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, a deputy election commissioner used to hold a press conference. They used to brief, these are the numbers, this is the percent of people who have voted, and this will be, there will be a change of 2 to 3%. By 10 in the morning, we used to get the final figure, and that figure never used to change. What is worrying is that when we are living in such a technological age, which everything is at the click of the button, the election commission is revising these numbers and not revising the very next day during session summit that used to happen. Now they are revising after 10 days. The first phase of the polling, remember, almost 10 days they revise the figures. Second phase of polling, again they revise the figures, and continuously they are revising figures. They have no logic behind it. If during sessions time when everything was manual and used to get the data on the very next day and that never used to change, why it is changing now? So that I have no proof. So I'm not accusing anybody, but I think there is something missing.
And also, but it's not clear whether any party actually benefits from it, but there's always a suspicion, and you must be above, your perception is as important, and this rising trend of the gap is worrying.
Whether, I don't know who to apportion the increase to, but if there is an increase, there are definite benefits. And they seem disproportionate. I don't know. I'm not the person who knows how the systems work, etc.
But it's for you to question.
Yeah, and the second part is that the precise defense of the EVMs, which all of us, believe, and at least I do, is that it's a system once punched in, it's irreversible. So how difficult can it be to simply count it all there?
Exactly.
Really. And it's like, दीवाल पे भी chalk से लिख देते तो इतना तो गिन ही लेते. It's like counting that. Second part is that nobody can defend the fact that the process is not robust from the casting of vote to the revision of voter turnout. Who it benefits, what has gone wrong as for the election
addition
commission
and
to
deletion
explain.
of the votes also. This
We
time
don't
it
know.
was a major
this
point
is
of
a worry.
contention between BJP and Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party did go to
Why
the election
did it?
commission
Yes.
the way BJP. See, Pravesh
No,
Verma.
now that's a very important point. You're talking about the actual electorate, the voters. They're deleting voters who are alive and having voters who are dead on the rolls.
No,
It's,
35 voters are registered from Pravesh Verma's residence. They are the 4 people. And this is the official 35.
Yes.
Many member of parliament from the BJP.
Yeah.
They're living
And
outside,
They
but they are
got
registered.
4 members
By
and
the
but
way,
30
again,
votes,
no, this
35
problem
votes.
also
again,
arises.
this is copying the US system where they make sure that certain communities don't get a vote by affecting their registration.
And also it's a function of the fact that since sessions time over the years, our faith in the election commission has gone down.
Yeah.
We would not be asking this question
Yes,
today
yes.
if Mr. Session was the chief.
Doc, if you ask any
The
question.
appointment of the election commissioner, I mean, what the chief justice said, 3 days later they pass a law changing it. And, for instance, last 2019 general election, somebody complained about Mr. Modi's speech. The complaint wasn't upheld, that's fine. But they refused to show us the documents. A Supreme Court, when it decides a case, both the majority decision, minority decision, but Supreme Court doesn't do it.
If you
I mean,
ask,
election commission doesn't.
if you ask these questions to our chief election commissioner Rajiv ji, Dr. Rajiv, he'll read a sher first. He'll do a shairi first. He'll do a shairi first, and then he'll explain कि मैंने लिखा है शेर. So you are asking a very difficult and very important question to election commission.
I just
to
want
read a
to
shairi.
point out one thing. Simple economic logic. There are both type 1 errors of exclusion, which are targeted, and type 2 errors of inclusion, which is inflation, to direct particular benefits. Now the numbers are proving it. Whether this is a portion to X or Y or Z is a political
nobody's
charge.
got the evidence yet, and until
Yes,
there's
but that it's an economic error is extremely clear. That we have the evidence for.
and
the
the rising
numbers
trend is
themselves.
something that needs to be
The
actually
numbers
justified.
themselves.
Okay, let's get on to probably the most important thing in this election, and that is social welfare measures, freebies, reveries. What do you call it?
Reveries.
Revdi
pe charcha.
I totally disagree. I call them social welfare. The only time, and I seldom speak, so if I can speak here, the only time anybody does anything for voters is just before elections. I've seen young girls on bicycles in Bihar go to school, change their lives. I've seen the change in lives of people women in West Bengal by the money they got at election time and thereafter. Lives are changed by these measures. My worry is that if elections happen once in 5 years, one nation, one election, they'll hardly get anything. In between, at least they get something now.
Doc,
So I'm
I
convinced you
disagree
not to
on
call
that.
it Revdi
I disagree
anymore.
on that because I remember
Sorry,
when
that's a bit biased.
Yeah, Nitish Kumar, when he did it,
Yes.
he did it after winning elections, and it was he rolled out the whole social welfare programs. What is happening now is, since Madhya Pradesh, that they are bribing voters. Just 3 months before, you are rolling out these and giving direct benefits to the voters. That means you are asking them, I am giving you this
I
kind of
agree
money.
with you.
please
The
do."
motive is
So,
terrible, but the result is admirable. That's
why
what
they are
I'm
not
worried
doing
about.
it just after winning
Okay,
elections?
can I just look into the two questions? Look into the social welfare measures in Delhi and how it's competitive Revdiism or social welfareism. And from that, I want to ask you whether there's a difference in the impact between a measure already implemented versus a promise. For example, in Maharashtra, they had already implemented, and even though the Congress and the Thakres came with better measures and promises, it didn't work. So is there a difference between already done, I've got it, and a promise to come?
It's basically about trustworthiness. Who can deliver, who cannot deliver.
And nobody trusts
like
anybody.
Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi still has a better trustworthiness because they promised on the electricity, they promised on the water, they promised on the education, they promised on the health, and all 4 counts. You can disagree here and there can be criticism here and there, but they delivered on those points. So when Aam Aadmi Party promised electricity and water free, that was a part of the social welfare programs and education. But not this one, 2,100 rupees just on the eve of elections.
In fact, let's just
that means
quickly
you are nervous.
Let's
and you
just
know that you are
quickly
losing.
go through what the promises are. Very quickly, again, they're on the website. You can see them in detail whenever you want to, so you don't have to take notes right now. But this is what it looks like. The BJP social welfare measures or promises are Mahila 2,500 compared to AAP 2,100. BJP is saying free metro travel for students and AAP is saying free bus travel for male students. BJP 15,000 financial aids to students from competitive and free education from KG to PG. AAP free quality education throughout the schools in Delhi, throughout government schools. Auto taxi drivers to get 10 lakh life insurance according to BJP. AAP auto drivers and e-rickshaw pullers to get 10 lakh life insurance and 5 lakh insurance, etc. These are all details. It's very, very competitive. But Dorab, you've seen it when it's already implemented, and the point is of trust. And frankly, in our experience, nobody trusts any politician.
Though on the other hand, if you look at the fact, people are not now, one of the BJP's leaders whom we interviewed told us, when I said to him, look at the deficit of your state, he turned around and said, the important thing is to win election. What difference does it make if we don't, even if we have a larger deficit, doesn't matter. So I think most people are now getting used to these promises and getting them. I think very few governments have reneged in the last 2 or 3 years. Look at Karnataka, look at Andhra, look at Telangana. I don't know about Delhi, but you know, the promises they make at the cost to the exchequer, which in fact they should be asked to put a value to those promises as to what they'll do to the exchequer.
With so many social welfare measures or reveries, where are you going to get the money? Have you looked into the financing of it?
So ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चुनाव है. ये डिसाइड करने वाला है कि सरकारी पैसा कैसे खर्च होना चाहिए. 2 मॉडल्स हैं. एक है आम आदमी पार्टी मॉडल और एक है बीजेपी मॉडल. आम आदमी पार्टी मॉडल कहता है कि जो सरकारी पैसा होता है उसको स्कूल बनाने के लिए, फ्री शिक्षा देने के लिए, अस्पताल बनाने के लिए, मोहल्ला क्लिनिक बनाने के लिए, फ्री इलाज देने के लिए, महिलाओं को बस में फ्री बस सफ़र देने के लिए, नई बसेस लाने के लिए, मेट्रो बनाने के लिए, सड़कें बनाने के लिए, पानी देने के लिए, इन पे खर्च होना चाहिए. बीजेपी का मॉडल है कि सारा सरकारी पैसा कुछ चंद अमीरों को देने के लिए होना चाहिए. तो उनका मॉडस ऑपरेंडी ये है कि वो कुछ चंद अमीरों को कर्जा देते हैं, सो कॉल्ड लोन देते हैं. बेसिकली इट्स अ मनी ट्रांसफ़र स्कीम. तो कुछ चंद लोगों को कर्जा देते हैं और 2-3 साल के बाद वो कर्जा माफ़ कर देते हैं. जैसे अभी एक केस आया, 47,000 करोड़ का कर्जा दिया और 46,000 करोड़ माफ़ कर दिया. एक और को 6,500 करोड़ का कर्जा दिया और 5,000 करोड़ माफ़ कर दिया. वो फ्री भी नहीं है, ये फ्री भी है. तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ, ये चुनाव ये तय करेगा कि सरकारी पैसा जनता के वेलफेयर के लिए खर्च होना चाहिए या इनके लिए खर्च होना चाहिए, कुछ चंद अमीरों के लिए खर्च होना चाहिए. जहाँ तक आपका पैसा है कि पैसा कहाँ से आएगा, तो मैंने कहा था मैं बिजली फ्री कर दूँगा, मैंने कर दी. मैंने कहा था शिक्षा फ्री कर दूँगा, मैंने कर दी. मैंने कहा था इलाज फ्री कर दूँगा, मैंने कर दिया. मैंने कहा था बस का सफ़र फ्री कर दूँगा, मैंने कर दिया. बाकी भी कर देंगे.
तो आपने कहा कितना 47,000 crores.
एक
and
आदमी
how
को
much
दिया.
will all your freebies cost?
Less than 10,000.
Less than 10,000, and that's 47,000.
5 साल में उन्होंने 10 लाख करोड़ रुपए 400 लोगों के माफ़ किए हैं. 10 लाख करोड़. ये फ्री भी नहीं है. सो विच इज़ द मॉडल दैट द कंट्री शुड फॉलो. एक मिडिल क्लास का टैक्स पेयर 12 लाख रुपए मान लीजिए साल के कमाता है. वो जीएसटी है, रोड टैक्स है, कैपिटल गेंस टैक्स है, प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स है, इनकम टैक्स है, पता नहीं कितने टैक्स देता है. 50% ऑफ हिज इनकम गोज इन टैक्सेस. वो देखता है यार मेरा तो पैसा लुट गया, मैंने तो 6 लाख रुपए टैक्स दिए और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने सारे उठा के अपने 400 दोस्तों को दे दिए. उसको क्या मिल रहा है बदले में? और उसको अगर कुछ दो तो उसको गिल्ट फीलिंग उसके माइंड में डाल दी गई है. फ्री बी. दिस इज अ आर्टिफिशियल गिल्ट क्रिएटेड इन द माइंड्स ऑफ द मिडिल क्लास कि नहीं कुछ नहीं लेना आपको. यही चीज़ें वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज़ के अंदर वेलफेयर मेजर माने जाते हैं. आप कोई यूरोपियन कंट्री उठा लो, फ्री एजुकेशन, फ्री ट्रांसपोर्ट, फ्री हेल्थ सर्विसेज इज ट्रीटेड एज ए वेलफेयर मेजर. हमारे देश के अंदर इसको फ्री भी कह के इन्होंने गिल्ट क्रिएट कर दिया मिडिल क्लास में. और मिडिल क्लास ये नहीं कहता, ये जो अरबपतियों को पैसा पूरी गंगा बह रही है पूरी सरकारी पैसे की अरबपति लोगों को, वो चलता है। तो इस देश के लोगों को ये तय करना पड़ेगा इस चुनाव में, दिल्ली के लोग मैसेज देंगे कि सरकारी पैसे की गंगा जनता की तरफ बहनी चाहिए कि वो सरकारी पैसे की 400 लोगों की तरफ बहनी चाहिए।
I just want to say one thing, that when Mrs. Dixit did it, she made headroom in her budget by privatizing electricity, freed up the money, and then used it to top up what was a central program of social assistance program, 1,000 rupees in those days, 2,500 rupees now. By and large, the scenario is of a retreating welfare state. Remember, public sector employment, public hospitals, everything's gone. You know, an ill person cannot by definition go to a Safdarjung or AIDS, etc.
We asked Atishi this particular question which Dorab is raising. You're spending so much, where's the money coming from? This is what she had to say.
Delhi is a state which has seen the maximum growth in revenue in the last 10 years. Before we came into power, Delhi's total budget size was approximately 30,000 crores. This was in 2014-15. And the growth in the revenue had been about 5,000 crores, from 25,000 to 30,000 crores over a 5-year period. But in 1 decade, we have increased Delhi's revenue 2.5 times. This year, I presented a budget of 77,000 crores, which is a 2.5 times increase. And this is when Delhi does not get any money from the central government. This is all from our own resources. This is all because of our own honest politics.
So what's your answer to people who say this is just reverie, it's just politics, you're giving it away just for votes?
I think you have to ask the women who have to depend upon their fathers, their husbands, their sons for every small bit of expenditure. And I think finally empowerment comes from having money in your hand.
But Saurabh, I want to ask you, okay, she says she's got the money and
Kejriwal says he's a
revenue has gone from 20...
No, Delhi is a surplus state,
yes,
don't forget
budget.
that.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So maybe it's justified here or not, but that's a different matter. The key point is that when they get these welfare measures, it changes their lives. Now, when you've been talking to, and all of us have been talking to voters, they don't even see a politician in between elections.
Yeah.
So this is the only time they see politicians who come to the constituency and do something, and yet we are worried about ये रेवड़ी है, फ्रीबी है, not fair.
मेरा ये ओपिनियन है कि लेडीज़ के लिए एक तो ये हेल्पिंग हो गया थोड़ा सा, कि वो जो भी चाहती हैं थोड़ा बहुत कर सकती हैं, विदाउट फाइनेंशियली ये वो कुछ करने के लिए कुछ करना भी चाहती हैं तो भी नहीं कर पाती. इनसे उनको बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प मिलेगी, बहुत ज़्यादा सपोर्ट मिलेगी.
जो फ्री में सुविधाएं मिल रही हैं वो बहुत अच्छी बात है, लेकिन ये जो चुनावी वादे जो हैं ये वाले में कुछ खास दम नहीं होता.
किसी भी तबके के हैं, किसी भी लेवल के हैं, लेकिन 2,000-5,000 रुपये से कुछ नहीं होना है. उनको कैसे शिक्षित बनाना है, उनके क्या राइट्स हैं ये जानना और अवेयर होना कि हमारे आसपास क्या चल रहा है. वो ऐसे लोगों को देते हैं जिन्हें कुछ भी पता नहीं होता, और 2,000 दे के खुश करके तो इससे बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ होना जाना नहीं है.
मुझे नहीं लगता 2,100 रुपये वो देगा, और कैसे देगा. अगर देगा भी सारे पैसे, अगर 2,100 रुपये बहुत सारी लेडीज़ है ना, अगर दे दिए तो फिर कैसे चलेगी सरकार.
पहले सब बोलते हैं कि केजरीवाल फ्री में रेवड़ियाँ बांट रहा है, बट अब वो सारे लोग वही चीज़ लेके आ गए हैं, तो फिर हम तो फिर केजरीवाल को ही सपोर्ट करेंगे ना, कि वो एटलीस्ट पहले से कर रहा है, जो भी कर रहा है पॉजिटिव कर रहा है, मेडिकल का कर रहा है, एजुकेशन का अच्छा कर रहा है, बेटर कर रहा है. और मैं चाहती हूँ कि युवाओं के लिए रोजगार और हो.
जनता का ही खून चूसा जाएगा और जनता को ही दिया जाएगा, तो लेने वाले भी बेवकूफ़, देने वाले भी बेवकूफ़.
आप तो एक तरह से लोगों को खरीद रहे हैं ना, यू आर बाइंग पीपल, यू आर नॉट टेलिंग पीपल दैट यू विल डू दिस आफ्टर कमिंग टू द पार्टी और आफ्टर कमिंग टू द पावर.
जो वादा करता है ना वो केजरीवाल ही करता है और वो निभाता भी है. बाकी पार्टियां तो ऐसी ही है. कांग्रेस फिर भी सही है, बीजेपी जो बोलती है वो तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं करती.
छोटा तबका तो सब उनको पसंद करता है क्योंकि उनको काफ़ी फैसिलिटीज़ दे रखी है उन्होंने, तो लेडीज़ के लिए बहुत कुछ है. बाकी आने वाला टाइम बताएगा क्या हो सकता है.
The problem is not the welfare schemes. The problem is not if the scheme is good or bad. The problem in Delhi is the implementation of the scheme. So whichever party comes up with a scheme, they are very full of bluster in the beginning. And then we see all of it fade away very quickly. So I would prefer someone who can actually implement a scheme.
So we asked Vijendra Gupta of the BJP whether there was a reverie competition amongst all the three parties.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं है.
बीजेपी रेवड़ी,
हमने कोई रेवड़ी, हमारी तरफ से कोई रेवड़ी सच नहीं है. पहला इशू तो ये है कि गवर्नेंस जो है वो कभी जब चेंज ओवर होता है तो कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि सारी पॉलिसीज चेंज हो जाती हैं, और अगर दूसरी पार्टी यही प्रचार कर रही हो पॉलिसीज चेंज हो जाएंगी या इश्यूज चेंज हो जाएंगे, तो हम लोगों को यही कह रहे हैं कि जब कांग्रेस की गवर्नमेंट गई थी और बीजेपी की गवर्नमेंट आई थी, वाजपेयी जी की गवर्नमेंट, जब वाजपेयी जी की गवर्नमेंट गई तो कांग्रेस की गवर्नमेंट आई, तो वाजपेयी जी ने AAY शुरू किया था, अंत्योदय अन्न योजना, कांग्रेस ने उसको चालू रखा। तो ये हमेशा जो वेलफेयर स्कीम्स होती हैं ये
काफी दे रहे हैं, रेवड़ी काफी दे रहे हैं, प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं।
पहला तो ये है कि जो हमने बोला कि हम कंटिन्यू रखेंगे, वो एक सोशल वेलफेयर जिसको कहा जा सकता है या वेलफेयर स्कीम्स जो है वो हमेशा से ही जारी रहती है, कभी ऐसा नहीं होता कि गवर्नेंस चेंज होती है, गवर्नमेंट चेंज होती है तो वो भी चेंज हो जाती हैं, एक कंटिन्यूएशन होता है।
सोशल वेलफेयर स्कीम्स आर इम्पोर्टेंट. We should
It
look
makes
at
a
the
difference to the
job and everything. So the unemployment is a major issue. So if you get 2,100 rupees or 2,500 rupees or a Ladli Bahan or Ladki Bahan or Maiya Yojana, it definitely matters for the women. A woman will say ki I need 20 rupees. I am going to a temple and I want to give 20 rupees to the pujari or want to do in Dan Patra. I have to ask my husband. But now I can go to somebody.
Yeah, gives her independence. It's
कि
huge.
20 रुपए भी मेरे को देने हैं तो मुझे पति से लेने, पर एटलीस्ट ये 20 रुपए मैं अपनी मर्जी से दे सकती हूँ. Now I've heard
maybe the men don't like it.
And coming about these
बिगाड़ रहे हैं
coming out
घर की औरतों को बिगाड़ रहे हैं. अब वो जब मन में होता है घर से निकल के बाहर घूमने चली जाती
and now
That's shocking. Yes.
now the coming back to Delhi and these promises. Arvind Kejriwal, again I'm saying, I'm repeating the thing, if this election women voters are going to go for Arvind Kejriwal, number one, not will be 2,100 rupees, it is going to be the free bus ride. They already have it in
That's
their
the point you made. Yeah.
Number two, Aam Aadmi Party announced 2,100 rupees to the women on 16th of December. They launched it. Their volunteers have gone to every constituencies, form lekar ke bharwa diya, and they announced it and they advertised it very well. That hum denge, form bhara diya and everything. That's where Pravesh Sharma panicked. He's going to contest against Arvind Kejriwal. They're already getting the forms filled and he says, I have no chance. Then he started giving 1,100 rupees. कि ये तो promise कर रहे हैं 2,100 रुपए, मैं तो आपको पहले 1,100 रुपए दे रहा हूँ. They know the impact of it. BJP announced it last week. And people are already getting the benefit of free bus ride, especially women I'm talking about.
Right.
So they already have it in their pocket. As Ashutosh said, that they are already getting the free bijli, the free pani, definitely here and there are issues. And Arvind Kejriwal in every rally saying that बहुत लोगों के बड़े बिजली के बिल आ रहे हैं, बड़े पानी के बिल आ रहे हैं, मैं इनको आके खत्म कर दूंगा. So he knows कि बीजेपी वाले बोल रहे हैं देखो ये बिजली का बिल, वो कह रहा है नहीं हाँ मेरे से गलती हुई है, मैं कर दूंगा, ये मुझसे हुआ है. मैं तो 2 साल ईडी ने परेशान करके रखा. 2 years I was in COVID.
Are you in favor of them or not?
So the one thing, the women's voice finally on welfare, revadi, etc. The schools are very, very good. And I have been going around to these schools.
That's a big change from many other states.
See, the women in the underclass, when they come out only for support income, and they will tell you, Didi, बच्चों को पढ़ाना है. मेरी जिंदगी जैसे भी गुजर जाए, बच्चे तो पढ़ लें. I have been going around to the schools.
That's amazing.
The one thing where I will not put a question mark, and this was something that Mrs. Dixit was not able to do, literally in Kalkaji, an auditorium in a government school in a basti, which can seat about 1,200 people, fully air conditioned. And I heard Justice Nagaratna for the first time in a meeting with parents of children, Justice Madan Lokur on a remote joining them. It's like creating a public space where none existed. Right. And the day when there are PTA meetings, I can tell you, you should do a survey that day. Women do not report to work and they say, Didi, aaj PTA meeting hai, aaj main nahi aa rahi hu.
What an amazing.
This is an amazing
focus
revolution.
on education.
I also, sir, one thing I want to add here and tell you that when I came to study here at Lady Shri Ram College, we were in the 3rd class compartment of the train. Our meals at Lady Shri Ram College were provided when we surrendered. My parents surrendered the ration unit for chini and chawal at home. We got the slips and we got our hostel food. So that revdi brought me here. It's their turn to get it now. Let them eat the revdi and the lollipop both together. Right. I think the rich of Delhi should turn back and say, we'll pay an extra cess, just educate our own children better.
when that day comes, it will be a wonderful day. I agree with you.
Health education, everybody talked about in your first term. Second term में थोड़ा कम हो गया.
नहीं, अच्छे स्कूल जो फर्स्ट टर्म में बन गए, अब वहाँ पढ़ाई अच्छी हो रही है. अब बच्चे फ्रांस जाने लगे हैं, अब सरकारी स्कूलों के बच्चे जर्मनी जाने लगे हैं, टीचर्स दुनिया भर के ट्रेन हो रहे हैं.
लेकिन सेकंड टर्म में थोड़ा
सेकंड टर्म में ये मैंने कहा सेकंड टर्म में भी पढ़ाई और अच्छी हो रही है. अब बच्चे
स्कूल नहीं खुला है सेकंड टर्म.
नहीं, सेकंड टर्म में भी नए स्कूल खुले हैं. अगर आप देखेंगे आतिशी जी ने पिछले करीब 2-3 महीने में ही कम से कम 10-12 स्कूल्स तो उद्घाटन किए हैं आतिशी जी ने. तो ऐसा नहीं है, मोहल्ला क्लिनिक्स खूब बने हैं, हॉस्पिटल भी बने हैं.
अच्छी तरह चलते हैं, यहाँ नहीं बोलते अच्छी तरह नहीं चलते.
नहीं, कुछ मोहल्ला क्लिनिक्स में प्रॉब्लम आई. इन्होंने बीच में उनके कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स रोक दिए, डॉक्टर्स के साथ प्रॉब्लम की, डॉक्टर्स की पेमेंट रोक दिए, लेकिन अब अच्छे चल रहे हैं.
A lot of people are saying the schools are not too good, there are not enough teachers. They agree, but I must say one thing, there are shortage of teachers definitely in Delhi, but it's a little better than Bihar where we go. The teachers there are lots of teachers, but they don't go to school. They have their own private tuition. The schools are empty,
not little better.
They're all registered.
Not little better. I tell you how it should be compared. In 2015 when the budget was presented, 22% of the budget money was allocated to the education, and almost 13 or 14% to the medical facilities. Which other state government has done that? Has not done up to this extent. And second thing, in Delhi till 2022 there were MCD schools. Compare those MCD schools with the Delhi government run schools. Thirdly, you compare with any other school in UP, Bihar, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, anywhere, you will find the difference. So the issue is,
it may not be perfect, but it's better than a relatively.
You can nitpick anywhere. You can nitpick. The camera is devil. You can take a camera anywhere.
Much better than the private schools in the neighborhood.
The camera is devil. But the fact is, they have done some brilliant work in education and medical facilities. In medical facilities, they fail to do it because the land is not with them. And in education also, the land is not with them. So it's very difficult to get land from the BJP, from the LG.
Okay, so what do voters think the most pressing issues of Delhi are?
थोड़ा आगे कौन चल रहा है और मुद्दा क्या है यहाँ पे?
सर, मुद्दा यहाँ दिल्ली में गंदगी बहुत ज़बरदस्त है. गंदगी तो बहुत ही है. कभी सफाई नहीं होती, कभी ये ड्रेन रोड साफ नहीं होती, नाली पानी भर जाता पूरा, एक बरसात में.
सड़कें बहुत बेकार हैं, कीचड़ बहुत है, गंदगी बहुत है. जैसे आप ये देखो, दिल्ली में इस समय पे अगर किसी बंदे को कहीं हिल स्टेशन, माउंटेन्स देखने कहीं जाना की जरूरत नहीं है. यहाँ पे बलसवा में एक कूड़े का पहाड़ है.
10 बजे के बाद लड़की लैट्रिन में जा नहीं सकती है. हमारी माँ बहुत ज़्यादा गुंडागर्दी, और कुछ भी कहो तो तुरंत ही मार पिटाई पर उतर जाते हैं.
कोई सूद नहीं लेता. हाँ, इलेक्शन के टाइम में तो सब आ जाते हैं, लेकिन वैसे कोई सूद नहीं लेता 5 साल तक.
I can't roam at night. Men can. Of course, it is not safe for them either, but it is more unsafe for me.
मेन मुद्दा ये है रोजगार का. बच्चों को रोजी रोटी चाहिए. ये इससे नहीं होता 2000 दे दिए, 5100 दे दिए, 1100 दे दिए. मेन चीज़ है नौकरी.
एरिया इतना बेकार हो रखा है ना यहाँ का कि लोग अगर सही से भी चल रहे हैं तो उनके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा वो होता है, नजरें गंदी डालते हैं. मतलब कोई डॉक्टर की नहीं छोड़ता, तो हम तो ऐसी आम लड़कियाँ हैं, फिर हम कैसे सेफ फील कर सकते हैं?
I've lived in Delhi for a lot of time, so I'm taught and conditioned to save myself. But I don't think it's a very safe city otherwise.
हम लोग को घर से निकलने से पहले सोचना पड़ता है कि क्या कहते हैं, कैसे आज का दिन कैसा जाएगा, कोई टच तो नहीं करेगा इधर उधर.
दिल्ली में इतना कबाड़ा, इतना मतलब गंदगी हो गई है कि दिल्ली नहीं लगता है. मैं आपको बताऊं, आप नोएडा जाइए, वहाँ पे इतनी सफाई है ना. अब केजरीवाल जी यहाँ सारा कुछ कराते हैं, पानी भी छिड़कवाते हैं, सब कुछ करवाते हैं. अगर ये उसी के हिसाब से जैसा उन्होंने बोला था कि मैं दिल्ली को पेरिस बना दूंगा, तो उसका एक भी अंश नजर नहीं आता.
This whole issue of the LG, now does that create sympathy that they're not allowing to function? On the other hand, I did meet one voter, and this is what he said, that look, the LG is giving so much trouble, let's have the same government at center and state. So I'm voting BJP just so there's less trouble. So what is this LG impact going to be?
I think people write down the social scale. I think they are not that concerned about. But I think it's a terrible thing. I think I've written an article in NDT when I was there. Do we need governors? What do you need a governor for? In many countries, the legislature itself votes to elect the chief minister. Why do we need a governor to count numbers?
Now let's listen to a range of voter voices.
सरकार होने के कारण है ना दिल्ली में तरक्की रुकी हुई है।
अच्छा,
एक दूसरे की टांग खींचते हैं सारी बातें तो इसलिए एक ही तरफ हो जाए तो अच्छा है, थोड़ा सा तरक्की हो जाएगी।
मतलब सेंटर और स्टेट का
हाँ, सेंटर
एक ही होनी चाहिए।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
आपस में जैसे कि बीजेपी और आप वाले केजरीवाल जी और मोदी जी आपस में मिलें तो फिर उद्धार हो सकता है दिल्ली का, अदरवाइज नहीं हो सकता। ये आपस में ही लड़ते रहेंगे कि हाँ भी ये करने नहीं दे रहे, ये वैसे, और तो बस इसलिए हम तो कहते हैं आपस में मिल के चलें जिससे कि पूरी दिल्ली का सुधार हो।
कीर्तन हो रहा है तभी तो कामों में डिले हो रही है, लेकिन कामों में इफेक्ट जरूर पड़ा है एलजी और इनका, कहीं ना कहीं तो कुछ है।
मुझे तो ये लगता है कि अगर गवर्नमेंट है तो उसको उसका काम करने देना चाहिए। ये एलजी हमने चुना तो अपनी गवर्नमेंट को है, तो एलजी कोई चुने हुए तो है नहीं, तो उनका बनता तो नहीं है। बाकी कोई अगर पावर से आता है तो कोई क्या कह सकता है।
ये तो इन लोग के बीच के कभी सॉर्ट आउट होगा ही नहीं। इससे बेटर है कि अपने एक वो गवर्नमेंट इस्टेब्लिश हो जो दिल्ली में सेंटर में बैठी हो, जिसके साथ एलजी के साथ और सीएम के साथ कोई प्रॉब्लम ना हो, अब दिल्ली के सारे काम हो। मेन चीज़ तो ये है।
I have a feeling that as you get up the economic scale, this idea of harassment of
will have an impact.
Will have an impact.
You
I
think
don't know
so,
whether right
or
down the line.
the actual harassment itself will.
I think people have sympathy for Aam Aadmi Party. Arvind
For the
Kejriwal.
harassment.
Definitely.
But then if you're saying
especially the voters in Dalit voters, the Dalit Valmiki voters, they are very well aware
because
of what is
LG.
Yes,
the
yes.
LG thing also.
So see, LG is now giving political interviews. Doc, I have never seen. So I have a very small career. But LG has given a political interview. A senior
small
BJP
career but big impact. Modesty doesn't function here.
I have learnt it from you, Doc.
So
LG is giving political interviews in these elections. And when people say that कि LG क्या LG चेहरा है, LG ने ये करने नहीं दिया, LG ने वो करने नहीं दिया, and BJP is very prominently saying कि अगर ये तो बहाने बनाते हैं कि LG करने नहीं दे रहे हैं तो आप कुर्सी छोड़ दो. But I don't see it is not an issue in the elections.
But Saurabh, there is a class divide here. There's the affluent class, the upper middle class, the middle class, slightly more educated class.
Right.
They are thinking on this कि बहुत झगड़ा हो गया इसमें, अब let's have some governance in Delhi.
But does that mean let's vote the same party as the center, so there won't be the tension? Which way are they leaning?
But they might go to the BJP.
Because they don't want the tension.
But
they may be critical of the tension.
But the middle class and the lower down, it's not going to be, it's not a big issue at all. The only issue is Aam Aadmi Party has delivered and they have some trustworthiness in Arvind Kejriwal, and they still feel that Kejriwal, you know what is the saving grace for Kejriwal is that he's shared better than the rest. When they compare in the Bidhudi, Parvesh Vermas of the world, that they think this man is much better than these people.
So the large upper class of Delhi is actually also bureaucrats who are working, service career professionals.
Right.
I couldn't have come to Delhi and lived here in a home if I were not subsidized by some form of public subsidy, you know, brothers, aunts, uncles in the government. So the ones in service are coming back and talking civil service rules at home and saying too much jhagda and politics should not divide us. But are the women in the home listening? The answer is really no. So they are packing the men's tiffin boxes. That discussion goes back with them. The men chastise the women as they leave. सुनो देखो ध्यान रखना ये खराब बात है ये गंदे लोग हैं वगैरह वगैरह. But I will not name the political parties.
No, what are they saying? Not you.
The men's sermon after they exit the women's world between 9 to 5.
Freedom.
That's the, you know, we have contingent freedoms.
But this
we
is
don't
the
have
growth
freedom
of
in a
women.
continuum.
This is the growth of women in political participation.
So we realize at 5:30 we have to report to boss.
One factual point.
I think it's changing now. He comes back and reports to boss.
One factual point. Arvind Kejriwal is not talking about LG at all. He knows that if he talks about कि LG ने काम नहीं करने दिया, फिर लोग ये कहेंगे कि LG जब तुम्हें काम ही नहीं करने दे रहा है तो फिर हम बीजेपी को चुनो. So Arvind Kejriwal is very smartly is not talking about कि LG ने हमें काम नहीं करने दिया. He is not talking about LG at all. He knows that if he talks about LG, then BJP will say तू तेरे को काम नहीं करने देता.
So carry on with the point. It's very interesting.
So, you know, women are not allowed, you know, in an evening do, for example, try doing a survey of the middle class or the rich drawing rooms, especially of the government.
I'm in sync with you.
And the women will serve, you know, the plates, the drinks, they'll put everything in order. They will not discuss politics. It's the men who discuss all this. But women do it when they have their own time. See, the moment men leave, women go to buy vegetables, they go to the fruit seller, or the maid, or I call them domestic staff who works, comes back, the world opens up then. And that's the world of free discussions between this side and that side.
Very interesting.
The world of charity and philanthropy.
By the way, there's one other aspect to this of why exit polls may be wrong. Because exit posters, all posters use men all the time.
Yeah.
And women in villages, or some guy comes from Delhi and you're going to ask, they don't talk, but women they'll talk to. So pollsters need to realize that the questioners, the agents, must be women 50%. If you're going to get 50% women ask women, much more open. That's actually emphasizing what you said.
There are many things to it. See, women, even in richer households, if they are not working, they live on a dole given by the husband. It cannot increase. They have to adjust the family budget in this. And who's feeling the pinch of, prices rising? The women. If they saved some money, they would have gone buying a nice sari. They would have gone out to Delhi Haat.
One of the big things is a very high-profile state, even though a very small state, and very high-profile candidates. Some heavyweights. If you can just point out some to us.
So the first person, of course, is the larger-than-life Arvind Kejriwal, who's been Chief Minister 3 times, founder of the Aam Aadmi Party, recently has a scrap with the government of India, CBI and ED, was in jail for a few months, bailed out twice, and now as a sort of convener, but he's still the life and soul of the party. Then of course his companion in arms of many years, Manisha Sisodia, was Deputy Chief Minister, Education Minister, who actually spent a much longer time in jail, but again out on bail. And he is now contesting from Jangpura. He has moved from Parpatganj's earlier constituency, where the margin was very narrow. So many people accuse him of looking for a safe seat, which who wouldn't want to look for a safe seat anyway. And then third person, surprisingly, is the Chief Minister, who was in 2013 an advisor to the government. 2020, one from Katishi, one from Kalkaji, and is now standing again as the Chief Minister. One does not know what happens once the elections take place and whether she will be Chief Minister. But they put a really nice young woman's face as the Chief Minister, which I think is not a bad idea at all in terms of who is versus no face. Right. And of course then there is the BJP. They haven't had a clear face of who's going to be Chief Minister, but we met Mr. Vijayendra Gupta. He's been, he was first sent as the Bakra to fight Arvind Kejriwal in New Delhi. That now Parvesh Sharma, that seems to be the test, that if you are running for Chief Minister, you must first fight Arvind Kejriwal. So in 2013 he fought Arvind Kejriwal, then very sensibly moved to Rohini, where we met him. He was also the president of the BJP, local BJP, from 2010 to 2013. Then of course, BJP is not a party of descendants and ascendants, but Mr. Parvesh Singh Verma does happen to be the son of Sahib Singh Verma, who was Chief Minister for 2 or 3 years. He's already had 2 terms as MP for West Delhi and 1 term for MLA for Mehrauli. Now he's fighting Mr. Kejriwal, trying to defeat him. And finally, Mr. Kailash Gehlot, who was a minister in the government of Arvind Kejriwal, resigned in November, 1 day later joined the BJP. He used to fight from Najafgarh, where the majority was 4, and now he's moved to Bijwasan, where again the majority is pretty small, so he'll have to fight pretty hard to win, but one doesn't know what will happen.
Yeah.
Real heavyweights, I must say, which have all India impact. Okay, final summary. As I started, who's winning and why? Simple question.
As I said,
why? What are the issues?
As I said, Aam Aadmi Party has a clear edge because BJP, one of the reasons is that Aam Aadmi Party has been able to successfully create narratives and BJP has not been able to create any narrative. Aam Aadmi Party started with the negatives, but now they have retrieved a lot of ground. But
started negatives, which ones have they retrieved?
Because when in September, when he came out from the jail, right. The wind was blowing against Aam Aadmi Party. Let's face it, and he realized
because of corruption. Suddenly,
because of, not only the corruption, because on other reasons also.
Image of corruption.
Image of corruption. When you start doing something which you are not known for, like going to Hanuman Mandir, चालीसा, all kinds of things. When you say कि रुपए में तो लक्ष्मी जी कर दो तो इकोनॉमी आपकी ठीक हो जाती है, because this Aam Aadmi Party movement was basically a middle class movement, the literate middle class movement who had funded Aam Aadmi Party. So that mirror cracked somewhere, and to that this going to jail, liquor scam, Sheesh Mahal added to that.
How did they retrieve?
He being a smart politician, as I said earlier, two things he did immediately after coming to jail: resigned from the chief minister, leaving that Bangalore, and since then he has been consistently with the people. The mass contact program which has been started since then, he 40 लोग हैं तो भी उनके साथ बैठ रहे हैं, 2000 लोग हैं तो उनके साथ ही बैठ रहे हैं, and he planned out everything. He planned out कि we are weaker this time, so let's cater to the women. 2100. BJP will come out and paint us as a anti-Hindu.
Being with the people all the time.
That's the major thing. That's because just before.
Please.
In 2015, this is exactly what has happened. I was there with them, with Arvind Kejriwal then. When she resigned, then BJP painted him as a bhagoda. So there was a time in the month of July and August when Arvind Kejriwal used to go to his constituency for door-to-door campaign, and people used to shut door on him. From there, he retrieved the ground and got 67, which is one of the nothing less than the
That 67 was out of 70 seats is amazing.
This time also he almost did the same thing, but this time is tougher because this is the Aam Aadmi Party, Kejriwal up to 115 and 2025. There's a difference. There is a difference.
We will get ready for the last word.
Doc, I think people have made their mind up. And I also feel that Purvanchali voters, Jat voters, Gujars voters, beyond all these things, the pocket matters.
You're talking to them all the time.
Yeah, the pocket matters. The pocket matters. I think that people have made their mind up. I have to see the voter deletion and addition. That factor is very important for me. And believe me, I'm very confident that if that plays for Aam Aadmi Party, then for BJP, then it's going to BJP. And it is BJP's election to lose, which is very clear. But as Ashutosh said, Arvind Kejriwal, after 2020, he got little arrogant. He was people's man. He was people's chief minister. That disconnect was there. And the first thing, he came out of the jail, he started that mass program. Manisha Sodia, then Arvind, they went to every constituency, walking with the people, meeting their own people, and then the booth workers. And their strategy, 2100.
That was the retrieval process.
2100, metro mein half fares, and then so on and so on. Now they're taking on the Yamuna also.
Tell me, you're meeting people all the time. What about this? Is there any communalism? Has that happened at all? We saw it in every election so far. Bangladeshis are coming, somebody is coming. But is it happening here at all?
Aam Aadmi Party did not allow that to happen. BJP says Bangladesh and Rohingya, they said you are responsible for it. Delhi police is with you. How can you allow this happen? This happening? If it is happening, then you are the responsible.
The same thing happened in Jharkhand. They said central government is responsible.
Yeah, so you are responsible for it. So they did not allow polarization to happen. Okay. And I'm just thinking that how is it going to play out in Northeast Delhi, the right affected, as Karaval Nagar, Kapil Mishra is contesting from there. BJP did try by Shivraj Singh Chauhan, a little secular face talking about the riots. It didn't go well, but I think people have made their mind up. They are going to go and vote for their pockets. I have to see the voter list addition and deletion. That's is something which is very important.
So I think the undiscussed, or one of it is discussed. Two things about which the voters who were very happy with the Aam Aadmi Party, I wouldn't call them loyalists, but I do think that they were in some doubts or unhappy with Kejriwal. Sheesh Mahal was one. And after his release, the Swati Maliwal incident, a lot of people have even asked me that, how could he appoint someone to the House of Elders if he didn't even know whether this lady was an elder statesman or not. And it's been discussed very strongly amongst women. It's something that, and somehow in the elections, the BJP has not been able to take the points with which they could have put the Aam Aadmi Party in a corner. So here's Arvind Kejriwal. Remember, this time we are saying the BJP doesn't have a face. The Aam Aadmi Party doesn't have a face. They are saying she is a stopgap chief minister. This is the deputy chief minister. There is a people's chief minister. There's the idea of a chief minister. We don't know whether he is the chief minister. He's leading the campaign. It may be his guarantee. So it's a faceless campaign. But the strong use of the social media, the ability to be able to respond back, That's what has brought him back into the arena.
Social media, that's an
yes,
important
very
point.
important. I mean, remember, he's putting them in the corner. I do think that they've kept quiet on communalism. It's not that they've just said, oh, the police was with them or whatever. I've also been on a show with Atishi where I asked her, and I said, you know, Delhi is yours to win or even to lose. You're such good leaders. Why do you not speak out? Should riots happen? No, riots should be first brought under control and then the leaders should go. I said, that's the exact opposite what Gandhi taught us, that you need to be there to protect the riots. There is a political DNA in us where parliamentary democracy runs with leaders who are people's leaders. And then we get this gift of parliamentary democracy. It's not just a gift of institutions and processes. In our plurality, the women voter, the Muslim minority need protection of the state. They're not equal, they're not free. They're contingent circumstances, different. We couldn't control our gender at birth, or our religion was given to us, our father's name was given to us. Protect us. If not the Lord Almighty, at least the state protect us.
Summarizing what you have experienced.
At the end, this has been around, he's been around for 12 or 13 years. So there is some anti-incumbency bound to happen anyway. There's some tiredness. But the fact that he's given benefits over the years, which are lasting benefits, as she was saying, the bus is a benefit, that's a significant benefit. To us it's not, but you know, you've given significant, Pani, Bijti, you know, this is easy to overcome, and there's a 15% lead. In the midst of all that, to overcome that, and I really believe that there's only one face in the Delhi election, and that's Kejriwal. Mr. Modi's done the same thing twice before. 2014, 2019, his face was there.
Correct.
But Kejriwal's face, you know, it's just people are just divided in their minds.
Mature electorate that know the difference in Lok Sabha and Assembly.
Absolutely. That, you know, that this person has delivered for us. And that man is, in their view, delivering for the nation. The two are separate things. Right. And I think the odds are, and it's very lucky they'll come back.
Thank you very much. You've all made very clear who's winning. I still don't know who you said, but chalo. Only time will tell. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye for now.